Woohoo! Welcome, everybody. I'm Kirsten.
I'm Sam.
And we're here to chew the metaphysical fat.
Yes, we bloody well are. We're excited today. I'm really excited, as you can probably tell. We've got two absolutely stellar human beings. We love them so much. They've been on the Spiritual panel. They're just amazing. And I'm sure we'll tell you all about them as we get into it. So here's Dawn and Kyla.
Hi! Woohoo!
Sorry, my mind went a bit blank then when I was introducing you. I was like, what did I say? I was gonna call you the ninja knitter, but then I was like, maybe that could go a bit wrong. Don't mess with them. I should put you in the eye with a knitting needle. Hiya! Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say the After Dark podcast. Don is the host of the After Dark podcast.
He is. I'm sorry. Awesome. I'm really excited. Yeah. Go on.
That's okay. I've had a great time over the last couple of weeks interviewing you two, and the energetic vibration that, like, I've literally had to lay down after both of those interviews. So I'm not surprised that this is already so high vibe, and I'm absolutely loving it. So this is just going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think it is. I do feel a bit energy drunk. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. So we were really excited to get you both on. I think the question that we always kind of dig into is, you know, how did it start for both of you, like in your spiritual journey? So just for a bit of context for people that don't know Don and we call it Spinja, it's Kyla, isn't it? You guys met, you got married, didn't you? You had your awakening done, but then as it's transpired, Spinja, you've actually been on this path a really long time, haven't you?
I have been, yes. Yeah. And I think longer than I actually know. Like I'm finding journals and looking back, it's like, oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to go into that a bit?
So I think like I always suspected there was something up because I was the black sheep. Even now. But now that I see it, I kind of laugh at it. Yeah, I think it really kicked off in 2008 when it would be 2007. I was pregnant with my son, and I was in a really, really bad relationship. But the one thing that my son's father did for me, he showed me The Secret. And at the time, that was digestible enough for me. It was enough to show me like, hey, there's some stuff going on here. And so then just a bunch of things started happening. After I found The Secret, it kind of kicked some stuff in. Like I knew that my relationship wasn't good, and I basically stuck around because he'd had a child in a previous relationship, and he said that he didn't get a chance to be a dad. And I'm like, okay, like I know things are not great between us, but I'm going to give you a chance. Because that's one thing I didn't want to regret, because sometimes babies do change people. And, like maybe this was the kick in the pants that he needed. And I didn't want to wake up in a cold sweat, down the road, like knowing that I denied my child the opportunity to know his father. And so that was a mistake.
Right, okay. I was getting laser vibes, but yep.
Yeah, but well, yes and no. I don't really regret it, but it ended up seeing me in a battle that I should never have been in.
Yeah.
So like I'll spare the details of that, but I ended up when my son was 9 months old, we left. and he actually took his first steps in a women's shelter. And then and my father wouldn't let me go home. There's been a lot of off and ons there, but eventually I ended up going to the shelter in my hometown. And so I was there with a baby, like, where do I go? What do I do? And I remembered back to The Secret. And so that's actually, like, when I was in the shelter, I took all of these sticky notes and just put them everywhere. I started a gratitude journal, and I'm like, there has to be something. This has to, like, there has to be a way. And so things did start falling into place, even though, like, I went back. I was homeless. I wasn't welcome at my parents' house. My mom just got diagnosed with cancer, like, just after I got back. My grandma went into the nursing home. And so all of these things happened. I got that balanced. And then the next big thing, I went back to school, and I was 33. I took a fiber arts course. And that was a huge game changer. Actually, just before that, I started in a group. There was a community group that they did everything. They covered everything. And so it was like a baby play group that I would take my son to, and they would watch the kids, and we'd be off learning different things, like learning, like, recipes, and like, talking to counselors, like, finding all of the resources in our area, which was fantastic. And they knew that I was crafty, and because I was always knitting dishcloths. That was how I coped. Like, that was my like, keeping my anxiety in check. And so that's when they put a program together called So Resourceful. And it was meant to teach us life skills and all, like, and business skills, and then like, learning the actual ins and outs, like sewing, and so we took old clothing and upcycled them into tote bags. And the whole plan with that was to get somebody to take over the program, to keep it going within the community. And then that's when the instructors are like, you should really consider the fiber arts program. And it was, like, right in our backyard. And it's like, okay, I need to do this. And so, and then when I was going to do it, my family, well, what are you going to do with that? It's like, I really don't know. But here's the thing. I'm rock bottom right now. I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my baby. I don't think, if this is wrong, I don't have much further to slide down right now.
Yeah, it's like, no, I agree. It's like, give me a break, really. Like, they were looking for a reason to criticize you, weren't they?
Oh yeah, like, I was like, like, I look back now, and it's unflippin' believable. Like, you've got a single mom. They wanted me to stay on the welfare system. That was the plan. I was supposed to be welfare Walmart mom. Like, I don't think so. And, like, another reason, my motivation, my son was 3 at the time when I went back to school, and it was hard. It was really, really hard, because also in the background, I was dealing with my ex, who would pull me into court at any time, was constantly calling the police on me, constantly calling child protection. And there was nothing, but I still had to deal with all of this shit, plus school, plus a sick mom. So I had a few plates spinning.
Yeah.
But when I went to school, that was the game changer. That's where I was introduced to spinning. So, like, I do spin a lot of my own yarn. And the first time I sat down at the spinning wheel, even that's a story within itself. that morning, my ex was late. He was perpetually late. And, but if I was late, he would call the cops. And so that particular morning, and like, and I told him, I made it very clear. I made it clear in court. I made it clear across the board. I'm going to school now. He didn't do anything. He hasn't paid a cent in child support in 17 years. And so there was no excuse for him to be late. Like, yes, he lived an hour and a half away, but he'd been doing the run up for long enough that he could leave a window and know, but he didn't. So that morning, I'm just like, I'm out of here. I need to go to school. I'm doing something with my life. So I pulled out of the driveway. They were pulling in, and I'm like, no. And I went about my business. I dropped my son off at daycare. I said, he's late. He's not to get him. And so that's when I was at school, there was this cop that he called me up and told me he'd arrest me right then and there if he could. It was highly illegal. Like I find that was highly illegal. I found that out after the fact, and it's a good job that I'm not the same person I am now, because so needless to say, I was pretty rattled, and it was interrupting my class. And that was the day that we were learning about spinning. I had given my instructor a little bit of history about what was going on, so she knew. And so I walked back into the classroom, and I didn't have to say a word to her. She took me by the hand and said, here, you need to try this. You need to just try to calm down, just pull yourself together and try this. And so I sat down at the wheel, and even at the time, I said, it was like I was transported into another dimension. Everything just melted around me, and it was just me and the wheel and the fiber. And from that day on, like that's the spin part of Spinja, obviously. That it's how I balanced. And even, like fast forward to it would be October of 2013. My mom, she had thyroid cancer, and it had gotten the worst of her, and she knew that she wasn't going to be here for very long. And she was very, very much a stickler in regards to Christmas gifts. Like, there was no peeking, and you like no hints, nothing. It's like she wouldn't, and she didn't believe in like she believed in giving physical gifts. And so she actually broke her own rule. And about a month before, her final gift to me was the level 1 of the 6-year spinning certificate from the Ontario Hand Weavers and Spinners. And she said, I'm telling you this now because I don't know how much longer I have, but she says, I know you're going to need this. And so that's sort of how that got kicked off. But going back to what's that?
I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say that's beautiful. And I just want to say that I get that there's that primal thing of the divine woman spinning. It's like, and it's just so beautiful. And it's so beautiful that your mother gave that to you, before she passed. It's making me all teary-eyed. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm bloody crying as well. It's just, when you were talking about it, even like the fact that all this stuff was happening, it was like the big test, wasn't it? It's like, how are you going to get through this? It's like the obstacles, but you push through, and it's like the alchemical thing, isn't it? It really is like alchemy when you look at the wheel, like the cyclical nature of life, the death rebirth cycle. It's all in there, and the fact that your mum had a divine hand in that as well. Yeah, it's just like she knew. She sounds like a very special lady.
She did. And what like spinning, what that has done for me, like I was actually just breaking it down with Dawn yesterday. The people and situations and things that I've drawn in at my spinning wheel. I'm trying not to cry here because it just hit me last night. Just holy shit.
They call it the divine weave. That's what you're doing. You're weaving your reality as you're spinning.
It's just been magical because, like, I try to get my spinning wheel out as much as I can because there was one person that did the same thing, and that changed my life. And I hold the idea that you never know who's watching, you never know whose life it's going to impact, because if that lady hadn't have brought her spinning wheel out, would I be here right now?
Yeah.
And even in the darkest times and like some of the worst scenarios, it's brought in some magic. Like I was doing a demo. Well, even the demos, like I grew up, like I was in a small town, and because I was spinning and I wasn't like 80 years old, apparently that was newsworthy. And so
Okay.
there were different articles done in the local media. Like I've been in the newspaper countless times, like in regards to my spinning wheel, and like even so resourceful, and so that brought the attention of the fair board. And so they approached me and asked me if I would be interested in setting up a booth and selling my crochet items at the county fair. Sure. And I'll bring my spinning wheel and I'll do demonstrations. And so by doing that, there's a lady that represented the fair boards from across, like there's different sections, but the different county fairs like get together with this board. Well, she was one of the higher ups that oversaw, I don't know, it was like 4 or 6 different fairs. And so she asked me if I'd be interested in spinning at, and she was a spinner herself. And so she asked me if I'd be interested in spinning at the Orono Fair, which was about, I'd say about an hour and a half away from where I lived. And I'm like, okay, have wheel, will travel. And so it was set up like a general store. And so I set my booth up, and then I set my spinning wheel up, and it was really well received. And so, you know, like that was step one. Like my spinning wheel brought this lady in, which took me to Orono. And so then the following year, Dawn was in the picture. And we had just met. It was actually one of the things that sealed the deal, and I knew he, like, it was like, yeah, I can't deny this. At the time, he didn't drive, and so he had his buddy drive him over an hour to come hang out at the fair with me. And I told him, like, I don't know how much fun this is going to be because I'm going to be at my booth all weekend. Oh, I don't care. I'll find something to do. And that's actually also where he got this hat for me. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, what does it say? I'm on my phone. What does it say?
Super bitch. And that is not what you think. He got it for me because he has a connection with Superman, which I'm sure he will explain, but it was very fitting. Now it's nothing to do with my personality. It's like, this is my girl. So
That's so awesome.
So
I love it.
He hung around and he actually learned my spinning spiel. So as I, like, if I got busy and I was surrounded by people and didn't have a chance to address everybody, he could explain what I was doing. Like, and this was within watching me for a couple of hours.
You're a genius, aren't you, really? That's your gift. It really is.
And so the thing with Orono, I just also realized that was kind of a redo as well, which also crosses over into our life in Alberta. There just seems to be things. There's this band called the Roadhammers, and I love them. I love them. I love them. And I got to see them at a bar around my birthday of I think it was probably about 2006, 2007, but I was with my ex.
Okay.
And so I needed a redo, and the Roadhammers just so happened to be playing at Orono, where Dawn was with me. And so it's like, okay, did I pull that in with the wheel? You know? And so we're gonna fast forward to now what I'm pulling in with my wheel, because I know I've shared with both of you that I'm doing the local farmers market now, and I'm loving it. I'll be honest, at this point, I haven't sold a thing, but the value that I'm already getting out of it is just phenomenal. Like I'll be sitting there spinning, and the little kids come in and they ask me questions. People of all ages come in and ask me questions. You know, like the men seem to be more interested in the mechanics of it, and
Yeah.
I'm even able to explain to them like how it works. The other really cool thing, like, okay, so my spinning wheel is it's made in Ontario, and it's made by the by the man of a name. His name's John Lendrum, and I was at an event on Canada Day one time, and this man comes up to me. He says, "Is that a Lendrum wheel?" Yes, because that's not something like, for somebody to recognize the spinning wheel is a big deal right now, but to recognize the type. And he's like, he says, yeah, I was John Lendrum's neighbor. I knew
Wow.
him. I knew his mom. His mom was a great weaver, but and she wanted a spinning wheel that like was all purpose, because there are different types of spinning wheels that you know, like they do different things. Like, just, you know, like wool has its own like specifications, and then cotton, you have to spin it at a faster rate because the fibers are so short.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it would take different wheels to do it. So John Landrum made a wheel that you could put attachments on. And
with a revolutionary game changer.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But he did it for his mom. And so that but for that man to randomly pop out so that I could share this story. And so this is also a story that I carry with me, that I shared at the farmers market. And so with me taking my wheel to the farmers market, I now find myself in a spot. I wanted to put my crochet work in consignment stores. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lady just this past week. We talked. This was my Thursday was my third market. I talked to her the first day, and then she didn't have a chance to drop by last week. And then she came by on Thursday, and I had a tote bag with skulls on it, and so she told me, and I knew, but I think I don't know, she thought that I forgot. She runs the Metaphysical shop in town, and she was asking if I would be interested in putting some of my work in her shop. She says that she's really, like, she is particular, like she doesn't, you know, like there's certain things, but she figures that my skull bag would be a perfect fit. And again, all of this because of my wheel.
It's like it's the guiding thread through, pardon the pun, through your life, isn't it? Really, it really is. Honestly, I had so many tingles listening to that story, Spinja. You're so divinely aligned, and just how you met Dunn, and your whole story is woven together. You know, you couldn't make it up, could you? Really?
No, and like the other really cool thing, like mentioning Dawn and my spinning wheel. I was sitting at my spinning wheel. So we started talking on Facebook. And like we joke around, you know, like this is what you land when you troll Facebook. And so we were at the whole like getting to know you phase. So I'm sitting there at my spinning wheel. My son was away, and so he said something about his birthday and how he usually goes down to Cuba for his birthday. And I'm like, oh, when's your birthday? He said March 4th. Get out. And he was like, what? Like, you know, like, did I say something offensive? Like, no, that's the same day as my son.
Wow.
They were both born March 4th, 30 years apart.
March 4th Productions.
Yeah, that's exactly why. And I always said, like, okay, so my son was actually due February 22nd. And at the time, I was with my ex, and we were moving back into this house that there was extensive renovations going on. So I talked to my belly, and I'm like, dude, well, I didn't know it was a boy at the time. And I'm like, you need to stay in there as long as you possibly can. And I maintain that's the only time he's ever really listened to me.
And it was only because he knew. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It wasn't because you told him to.
So the due date rolled around, no baby. And a week later, it's like, all right, we need to start talking about, you know, like maybe you need to be induced. And so it was actually a leap year that year. And so I was contemplating February 29th. That would be, you know, kind of cool, right? And my ex's mom talked me out of it. Like, all right, because like, and I was at the time I was under a lot of pressure. I was surrounded, like, and I'm like, okay, I'll keep the peace. And so I ended up being induced on March 4th, and that actually ended up being better because I've always said that my son is my reason I March 4th.
That's amazing. I've got tingles. I had to say tingles when you said that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And I say, like, at the time, like when Dawn came into the picture, things weren't great. Like, my ex was settling down, but it was I was dealing with my father at the time who had dementia. So I still, like, there was no reprieve for me. and so it's like there's times in my life where I've got somebody or something that helps me get through, but sometimes I need a reinforcement. And things were so intense at the time. I had 1/4, or I needed another one to pop me out. And he actually did pop me out of the situation with one question. We went.
Is it? Good.
We went over to my father's for dinner, and Don was less than impressed how he treated my son and I, and how he spoke to us. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was how my father lit up a cigarette while I was still eating, and I didn't even know that was rude. And we were barely outside, and he looks me square in the eyes, and he's like, how can you let him talk to you like that? And of course, I was like what?
That's all you've ever known.
Yeah. And so after that, I started analyzing things. I didn't make any moves. It was actually my brother that caused some issues, and you know, like, the line things up that you know, the relationship between my father and I, like, I never got to say goodbye to him. I didn't know he had cancer. I didn't know he was sick. I was left out of the obituary, and it was his estranged sister that he hadn't talked to in years that called and told me that he died.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
That must have been really hard for you.
Yeah. That was also another part of my awakening, and it was rather unpleasant. But it opened my eyes to a lot, and just how fake my whole life was. I suspected it, but when you have the confirmation like staring you like right in the face, you can't really deny it. And that also caused me to put myself under the microscope, because I realized the like the toxicity that I was surrounded by, and it's like, oh man, like how much of this am I doing without knowing, because I didn't know any different. And as much as it hurt, I'm glad that the band-aid was finally ripped off after 40 some odd years. I would have preferred it to happen a lot earlier, to know the truth and not have invested my time and especially my heart into these people. I don't wish them any ill will, but if I had have known, then yeah, like even I did suspect, because like there were different events that it's like, no, I'm not going. I don't feel comfortable. Like it was starting to impact the relationship with my mom. Like she was starting to get upset with me because I didn't want to go to these events. It's like, why would I want to go to these events when I'm treated like shit? Like nobody cares if I'm there. Like they only care to criticize me. So what difference does it make if I go or not? And
It's like you were literally you were the target, weren't you? You were literally, there's a name for it and it eludes me, where everybody focuses their like negative thoughts and beliefs in one person, and that's to kind of make everybody else feel better. It's like a really toxic dynamic, isn't it?
Kirsten's really scapegoat.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. I'm the only one in my whole family that has to fight for my inheritance.
I mean, just moving on, that's horrible that you've had to go through that. How did that affect your relationship, you guys? Because I mean, I'm assuming from what you've said, Don went outside and was like, why are you letting you speak like that? That must have been really hard for you, Don, to sit and watch, Kyla's family treat her like that.
It's actually been kind of an ongoing part of, like, she's been on her awakening and I fell ass backwards into mine, and I'll get into that. But
yeah,
we've been deconstructing as we've been healing, like, what's going on. And like we almost have made a game of it now, where it's like, do you want to see where you were manipulated into changing your life into something? Like, and a lot of the things like that happened to her, she was just about 11 years ago to light up like a friggin' light bulb, probably a lot smarter than I am right now, right? So her mom gets cancer and her ex brings her into court and this and this and this and this, and it shuts down your awakening because the distraction lays in, right?
Yeah.
That's actually something that's allowed us to help each other heal from our traumas and understand our awakenings better, is because both of us can pull back from that frame and just go like, look at this. Just look at this as actors. Look what was done to person A by C, D, E, and F, right? Do you see how they made them go over here? And I've explained it with her family, with public education. You can see where you're pushed into these things to avoid your spiritual awakening, and it's gross. Like, when you start pulling these threads out, you're like, holy shit, I was interfered with.
Do you feel like, though, this was a question that me and Kirsten often talk about, isn't it? It's like, on one hand, it's like the dark forces, we'll call them that, are poking you and putting obstacles in your path and making you jump over all this shit and making your life really fucking difficult. But had all this stuff not happened, you wouldn't be where you were now. And then just in equal measure, it's like, I don't think there's anything. I think all timing is divine timing on the other side, and that the good side, we're calling the good, but like the higher side are utilizing all the physical chess pieces that are being put in your place to move you into position perfectly, to get the right experiences, to meet the right people, to expand your knowledge and your awareness. The fact that you actually met each other and you were able to connect, the fact that you got your spinning wheel, all of that stuff, it is like a very, to go back to that kind of analogy, it's a very perfectly constructed and intricate weave. Do you think?
I call it Operation Get In, Get Out.
Oh, that's what I love about you guys. You've always got these really clever names. They're amazing.
What they've put both Dawn and I through has backfired immensely. And this is one of the reasons like why we work. And I actually see the other thing that's happening is as I heal, I'm able to articulate better. And so I was actually able to put something into perspective for Don last night, which ended up causing him to have like a oh shit aha moment about his experience in the education system. So we're basically interchangeable.
At this point, yeah.
If you have a conversation with me, unless somebody asks, unless somebody says like, please don't say anything, we talk about it because like we both like analyzing things and coming up with solutions and stuff like that. And so last night I was able to explain it to him because, he's been quite hard on himself. He brings it up from time to time about being a high school dropout. And I'm just and and I'm always pointing out to him like it doesn't matter, and he knows it doesn't matter, but there's something in there, the indoctrination, like feel shame, blah blah blah. Like even Sarah Elkeldy, the alchemist, gently and lovingly gave him shit
for mentioning it twice.
Yes, yeah. And so how I explained it, like we all know that we are bigger than these physical vessels. Like if you were to take our energy, like we are very, very compressed right now. And so what happened with Don is that he is so smart, so intelligent that he didn't have the room for the indoctrination. And that's why school didn't gel with him.
Yeah.
And so but that's where I come in, because I was heavily into it. And that was self-preservation, because I didn't want to find out what would, the FAFO thing, right? I didn't want to find out what would happen if I didn't have passing marks or if I didn't have good marks. So I did it. And there's been so many different instances where I've been able to use it to our advantage. So he's, he struggles with like writing notes and organizing and things like that, because it's not his thing. And, he had other stuff to do. And whereas with me, I had to do it. It was survival. I had to keep receipts because, I was like, because of the toxicity, I had to keep track of everything, like where I was and what I was doing and who I was with and what was happening at the time. And even that I've used to my advantage. And so because of my experience with the indoctrination system, I use that for us. So I was, like last night, I'm like, okay, what do you need? Like, do we need to start different notebooks? Because, and it kicked off. We were watching Donnie Darko, and we were writing notes because we have show ideas, and so I keep telling him, like, use my indoctrination to our advantage.
Can I just say, so I'm going to just summarise what I've just got from that, and then I'm going to let Kirsten ask you a question, because you can see she's got one at the back of her mind. What I want to say to that is, firstly done, school is a building, it's a square building full of people that can only think in square terms, and that's the difference. It gives you some skills, but it puts you in boxes. I hated school. I think most people that we're all a bit neurodivergent, aren't we? None of us are really neurotypical. And that's what they want to do. They want to put you in a mold. So what I would lovingly say to you is, and I'm sure lots of people have said this, is you didn't fail school. School failed you, you know? And you need to look at it that way. They failed you. Because if they were really doing their job and they were there to educate people, they would meet every single fucking child, and I'm really angry about this because I've got my own kids, and they would make sure that their education system was tailored to make sure that every single child would fit and be accommodated, and they would learn in the way that would give them the most and beneficial outcome. And it's not about that. So just to leave that there. And also what I want to say is it's beautiful that you've both got each other's back, because you complement each other so well. If you could write notes but you couldn't pull shit out of people, you wouldn't be on the After Dark show. Spinja's like the little secret spinning wheel woman behind the scenes, keeping all like the bits together, isn't she? And you're there on the screen pulling all the information out of people, because you do. Me and Kirsten have both said when we were on there, I said things I never thought I'd say. I was talking about I was talking to and all sorts, and I come off there and I'm like, God, I feel like my spiritual underwear's been pulled down a little bit. You know what I mean? I was like, I can get all sorts. I was watching that show with Kirsten, and she was on. You were on about going outside a naked ground, and it was absolutely howling after. And then your friend was, what was he called? I can't remember his name. He's like, I'll send a drone. We've been giggling about it all day. It was hilarious. So I just want to say, you make a great team, and it wouldn't work if you weren't who you were, you know? Anyway, Kirsten, go on. What you got to say?
No, I agree with everything you said, Sam, and I think it's really beautiful to see, because, you know, we see so many relationships that just don't work at all, and it's so inspiring to see that, and 100% what Sam said. I mean, I did well in school. I went on to college. It did nothing for me. It just was more shit that I had to wade through to get to the truth, you know? So I agree with Sam, Don, you are so good at your job. Yeah, we really laughed about the naked grounding thing, because I have literally only told Sam. I told Sam that, and I told Diana that once, and they're the only two people I have ever told that to. I never thought I would tell anyone else. In fact, when I told Sam, I didn't even think I would tell anyone else beyond that, because I was just like, it's not. So you're amazing at bring that out, and it's a huge talent, and it's a gift. I mean, not everybody has that, so I think it's awesome. Yeah.
And the final fluid question you asked me, and I was just like, fuck, yeah. I went away and thought about it afterwards, like, it's fucking right, you know.
The more awakened I become, and I know we're kind of working backwards into my awakening here, it's happening more and more on my show. It's probably 65 to 70% channeled at this point. Like, basically where you worded it perfectly, and it's an analogy that I used before I ever even spoke to you. It's like I'm sitting in the back seat and I'm just listening to this very intelligent version of myself that has every ounce of compassion and understanding that I've ever garnered in my life just pulled to the forefront and articulating it for me. And I'm just kind of sitting there and going, wow, I'm fucking fascinated, right? I'm just listening to myself talk, and I'm like, this is good shit. Listen to me go, right? But it's two versions of myself, because there's the conscious everyday version of myself, and there's this stream that I'm pulling in sometimes. And it's like, holy fuck, I've like just, it's been on the go ever since. Like,
but that's still you. That's still you.
Yeah. And
that
we were
you. Yeah. And it's, yeah. And we all, Sam can relate to that, because we both, that happens to both of us. And, you know, I write, and when I write stuff, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't even know I knew that. But because it comes to, and one of the ways you can be a clear channel is to not have a bit of indoctrination that you have, you know, fouling everything up and filtering the stuff that you say, because well, I'm not supposed to say that, or that's not what the scientists say, or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's segue that into your awakening, Don.
Yeah, that actually
Let's talk about that.
Goes in nicely. And like before we get there, like onto what Sam had said, like I've come to the recent realization that, yeah, exactly. If I hadn't have gone through, I've had a horrible upbringing and a lot of terrible experiences, but I also see where I'm going and I see where I am now as compared to where I was 5 years ago. I am back to making the most money I've made in my life. I have the vehicle I want in my laneway. We have a roof over our head. We have food in our cupboards. We don't even do grocery store math anymore. And things are comfortable and we're going in the direction that we deserve. And it's like, holy shit, this is because I've shifted a perspective, right? And there's been so many perspective shifts along my awakening that, like, the more I start receiving this frequency, and that's where I wanted to go with this, is like there had to be clarity, right? Because I used to smoke cigarettes, I used to drink heavily, and I was on some pharmaceutical medication for what they call borderline personality disorder. Once I cleared all of those substances out of my system, there was a catalyst. I almost killed somebody in my septic truck one day.
Oh my God.
My boss was yelling at me on the phone and I looked down. I don't even know why I looked because it was just coming through the radio. I'm like, and I went to argue back and then I went, look back up. And I was inches from the side of this woman's driver's door. And I looked her in the face and she knew she was about to die. And it's a vision I still can't get out of my head. And it shut me down. I went back. I drove my truck back to work. I finished my route. And I said, I can't work for you anymore. My boss wasn't even at the job site. I'm like, I can't work for you anymore. I parked my truck and I was like, I can't. And he's like, oh, just calm down. You're being stupid. I'm like, no, you almost made me kill someone. I walked away from the highest paying job I had with no plan, no idea what I was about to do, no nothing. And I was like, holy shit, I'm having some type of breakdown or something. And Spinja being Spinja is like, just calm down. I know you're locked out of the house right now because we only had one set of keys at the time. Just go sit in the backyard and calm down. I'll be home in a couple hours. And I managed to hitchhike home 45 minutes in a matter of 20. And I was in the yard and I was just reflecting on what I had just done, what I had just walked away from. And I had walked away from everything in the construct I was attached to. Right? The money was gone. Like I didn't know how I was going to sustain the lifestyle that we had been going. And it was just this withdrawal of everything. I gave up on the financial system. I just started talking to people. And I started having a series of nightmares once everything started clearing. And they were horrific. Like I was in a blank body, basically. And I was fighting reptilian creatures that are anywhere from 12 to like 15 feet tall. And it's in a defense of a variation or a version of Earth. And I'm not invincible in this reality. I die multiple times. My consciousness just keeps getting put back into one of these human suits. They're a biosuit that you can slip a consciousness into. And you know, there was nights that I would die 30, 40 times and she couldn't sleep within a foot of me because it was that violent and terrifying. And it's not even something I'm ashamed to admit. The final straw was I pissed the bed. It terrified me so bad. Like I was getting my head stomped in. I could taste my own teeth in my mouth as I was being murdered by these giant creatures. And she was in the middle of her podcast deep dive, and she had seen on Typical Skeptic about the secret space program, which is an altered state of consciousness run by like the whole friggin' satanic ritual abuse crap. And I listened to a story on Typical Skeptic by Arkin Raw, and when he was talking about what they were doing to his consciousness, I'm like, that sounds. And the more this guy talked, I ended up crying at the end of this episode because everything he was saying resonated with being like pulled out of your body, put into this, sucked out of this, you're made to do that. And I was just like, this is what I'm experiencing with that being where I thought I was, like I was talking to a lot of these people that have been deeply traumatized by this experience, and I fell down the SSP rabbit hole, which is a scary place to be, because you start to believe that that's all that you are, is this manipulated super soldier, and that's all there is to your being, and that's all I could talk about. And I was terrifying her. Like, she thought I had psychologically snapped, right? Like I could not get my mind out of this other conscious experience that I was having. It was all I could feel. It was all I could think about. I was feeling those versions of my consciousness trauma every day, and it was heartbreaking. Like, I could not separate me from that. And I don't even remember what the moment was, but something clicked in me one day, and I just went, if I can see another stage of my conscious existence and have interaction with it, controlled action and cognitive recall of what I'm doing, thinking, and feeling, then I'm experiencing another stage of my conscious reality. And if that's possible, then that means a lot of other things in this reality are possible that we've been shut off from. And it was that moment, it was that ray of sunshine that my mind isn't trapped just in this one or this one. There's an infinitesimal number of like stages of your conscious existence that exist throughout all time and space. And that's when I started to dig deeper into experiencing the other stages of our conscious reality, and like the things I experimented with, lucid dreaming and astral projection and meditation and breathing. Even some of the Wim Hof breathing will get you there pretty quick into an altered state of mind where you can tinker with some stuff. But it was literally that brought me to this point of like, holy crap, that means a lot of this other stuff is probable as well. Well, now I need to know about all of this, because like when I stopped all the toxins in my brain, like I stopped the Veneflex and I don't drink anymore, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. The only thing I partake in is marijuana, and that's medicinal because I refuse to take the pharmaceutical painkillers because they're too addictive and they'll screw me up. Once all of that cleared, it was just like these roots in a tree, everything. I still, even right now, I'm actually hearing it. It's like a crackling in my brain of everything decalcifying, of the years of like distraction, pollution, chemical induction. Like, I can literally feel my brain decalcifying sometimes when I talk to people. And that's when I realized that I have to do this show, because I have a million newbie questions that nobody gets a chance to ask. What better way to ask than I'll talk to the people that have been doing this the last 10, 15, 20 years, because I have some weird fast track connection to be able to understand and articulate these things from a base level, even though I am completely indoctrinated and educated, right? It just seems to, I seem to have an understanding of these things. And
that's because I was just going to say, education isn't intelligence, it's indoctrination.
And that's actually something her and I were talking about, is I used to be an alcoholic. I drank from the age of 15 to 42. 15 to 42, basically like daily. And I didn't realize what I was doing, but in some of my heaviest states of addiction and basically personal paralysis, when all I did was drink myself to sleep, I would turn on the Discovery Channel or the History Channel or the Learning Channel and pass out to it. I was consciously programming myself. It's like those sleep meditation tapes you can get, except I was just filling it with astrophysics and all of these things, and didn't realize I was learning them. They were just being stuck in my subconscious the entire time. And you think, like, I was sleeping for 8 hours at a time, just absorbing information while I was passed out drunk.
That's half the fun.
Say this?
Don't know what's going to come out of his mouth next.
I can imagine. So what I want to say is that's fucking fascinating. You remind me of Edgar Casey. Have you heard of Edgar Casey?
Yeah.
And he fell asleep apparently on a book, and he could just take the information in. And what I think you've got is some kind of neuroplasticity where I'm not sure of the exact, because it just kind of came to me. It's like your non-local intelligence is operational when your physical consciousness is out of the way. You operate on a certain frequency, and what you were actually doing when you were drunk, because you'd obviously had a lot of childhood trauma, you were numbing out. That was the whole reason for it, is because of the trauma, isn't it? Like you both had, by the sounds of it, a lot of really horrible traumatic experiences, which is really common among a lot of people that are here to do this kind of work, actually. So what the process of numbing out was actually shutting your brain down at the time, but when you were going to sleep, your conscious trauma was being moved out of the way. So you were then able to facilitate and take in all this information. You're a very clever man, Don. Just need to remind you that. You really are.
And something else that in my strange little neurodivergent gray matter that apparently is a necessary thing, we've discussed at length the places I go while I am experiencing my sleep cycle. The other end of that is biologically, I have somnambulistic abilities that most people don't experience. If I'm consciously off somewhere else, my vessel will just get up and it answers almost in zombie form. Like, she'll ask it a question and I'll be like, yeah, I'll get that. And I'll come back and give her the water she asked for. I can go to the bathroom. I can get up. I can even rationalize, but I have no conscious awareness of it. She'll ask me about it in the morning. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh yeah, you got up and got me a drink and went to the bathroom. You had that.
That actually happened this morning. I thought he was awake, and I was telling him I was going to make some sourdough pancakes, and I scared the crap out of him. It's like, oh, I was talking to his night person.
Right. Like my physical form is fully operational. Like, eyes open. I know, like, it knows where I am. It knows how to maneuver through the house. It's not sleepwalking, because
that's it. Go on, sorry, cutting you off.
No, it's cognitive. Like, my vessel has a base cognition left behind in it when my consciousness isn't here.
Do you know what, though? I think we all have this, but there's just a very clear definition between the two. And it's pulling something in the back of my brain, and I can't quite fucking get it, and it really annoys me when that happens. I'll be on the loo. That's where I get all my best thoughts when I'm having a poo. Anyway, overshare, obviously. But we had to have a poo conversation. It just had to be done. Yeah. So it's like we have this base level of consciousness, like you were saying. But if you compare it to the majority of the population, and I mean this in the most loving way possible, it's not dissimilar.
That's true. I think a lot of people are operating on that all the time. And that's why, and I don't like the term NPC, because I feel like that separates people. And I feel like everyone has the potential to bring their soul back. But I agree with Sam. I think that's a very it's a very good way to describe that, really.
It's something saying.
I can actually like my experience, yes, because I remember right before I got pregnant with my son, like, my bestie says that my son was a smack upside the head from the universe. But I remember, like, before he came into the picture, I just detached. Like, things got so bad. Like, and it was like I was watching my vessel. I was in autopilot, and even before I saw The Secret, I was kind of flirting with it. It's like, okay, so basically I need to drive this, or else something else is going to drive this. And that's what was happening. I don't know. And again, it's weird, because before I knew what I know now, I said it's like my soul checked out of my body. I wasn't wrong. I I was just, I'm going to say probably from about 2002 up until my son came into the picture, I wasn't here. And the person, it wasn't anything that I didn't really do anything horrible, but there was different things like, like telling my mom little white lies and stuff, like totally not who I am. And like, and I see it now, and it's so important. And that's, and that's what I'm trying to get through to my son too. If you don't drive the ship, somebody else or something else will. And that's why all the distractions, that's why all the brainwashing, that's why. And it's easy to do. It's easy to just let somebody else drive.
Yeah,
well,
it is easy, isn't it? Go on, Kirsten.
Response too, because and that's one of the reasons why this realm is so full of trauma, because they want us to do that. They want us to disconnect. They want us to numb out, because that's how we're controllable. And I mean, I learned that because I had the same kind of response, because I was in that really abusive marriage. And when I went for therapy afterwards, I was saying to my psychologist, I said, I feel like I'm not there. I just check out. And I was telling her, especially in situations with men, I just kind of go away. And she said, that is trauma response. And that's when I started making that connection of, when 2020 happened, and I started seeing it in people that I knew who were so traumatized that they just checked out and said, okay, we'll do whatever you say, and we're gone. And it also reminds me, I did a channel one time where I asked the Arcturians, I was like, what about NPCs? What is up with that? And their response was, there are a lot of vessels on your earth where the souls have decided they're tired of living and have checked out, and the vessels are still walking around. And I was like, wow, and I think that we can look at probably even the majority of our population right now and see that. And it's kind of horrifying, and I don't know what the answer is, but I'm sorry, go on with what you were saying, guys.
No, I think you're dead on it there, Kirsten, and that's actually a term she brought to me, was creator beings on autopilot, and it's one that I've kind of glommed onto, because it's exactly what happens with predictive programming, the distraction, the soul, I've had enough, right? You're just a creator being on autopilot. Like, when you get deeper into the biomolecular construct of our reality, everything is energy, frequency, vibration, and intention, right? Well, if you're not intending to do anything and you're not putting out a frequency and an energetic pulse, something else will inspire you to do that. Something you've seen in a program, something you've heard on a radio, something your boss has told you to do. Something else will make you do something that you just are doing and creating for them. None of us know that we have the ability to create these realities for ourselves, because our energetic intent is so divided, right? So we need to be able to refocus and stop creating on autopilot. There's so many of us trapped in the 9 to 5 construct that just coast through life and are just doing what we're told, right? And that's what we keep getting back. The technocratic, fast food, updated iPhone reality, instead of being able to do these things and have a better existence for ourselves. It's getting fundamentally worse by the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And
true.
Something.
No, go ahead, Sam. That's all I had to say. True.
Oh. No, I was just going to say that's what they call it, a program, because you're able to. What do you do to a computer? You feed it a set of commands. And that's all we're doing, because we're a biological computer, aren't we? And if your consciousness is streaming in and you're not, like you said, you directing it with your will, which is why it's so important to exercise that will, you're essentially in the passenger seat of the car of your life, aren't you? And these programs, it's like you're in the car, but the car's on these automatic train tracks. It's driving around town, it's taking you to places where you might not want to go, your job. Do you know what I mean? relationships, all that kind of stuff, and you're just going through the motions. But also it's because it's easy. It's really difficult when you start to wake up. I mean, we've all had an awakening story. I mean, you guys have all talked about your kind of like how you started. I used to drink. I used to drink. I did drugs. I was a sex addict. All sorts of shit. Do you know? And I just, a bit like you, Kyla. I had this massive moment where my mum died, and I was going through the motions, and I was just numbing out with drugs and drink and all the rest of it. And then I met somebody, and I ended up having a family, and it completely revolutionised my life. I went from being like this weekend party girl, like from Friday to Monday. My life was a train wreck. It really was. Everybody thought I was great. Oh, Sam's so fun. Look at, she's had so much fun. She's having a great time. And I was absolutely miserable. I was depressed. I was so disconnected from who I was. But I didn't have to take responsibility for my actions. That's the thing. And then when you start to do that, when I had children, what that actually did for me, it made me completely and utterly responsible for the well-being of another human being. You know, there was no excuses. If I didn't feed this baby, it would die. If I didn't get up in the night and change its nappy, it'd get poorly. I'm saying it, my daughter. If I didn't, give her love and attention, she'd atrophy. You know what I mean? And I was so determined that I was going to be like the best mum that I could. That's really what started it all off, because it was like almost like a switch had been, flipped. So it's true, but with that, because it was the responsibility. You can't numb out. You can't just. I mean, you do sometimes go through the motions, but that was the beginning for me. And then obviously, the older I got and the more aware I got, and it's very like that on the awakening journey, isn't it? You've got to start taking responsibility, because yes, we're not in control, but when somebody else is in control, it's not your problem, is it?
My son, like exactly what you said, Sam. My son is why, like I've taken a step back, and like I know addiction is an issue, like within like with a lot of people within the community, and like I've asked myself, like, how did I get away from it? And when I was a kid, my mom was very wise. She had me involved in figure skating, so I'd be skating 3 nights a week. Well, if you're on the ice, you can't be getting into mischief, right? And then the other thing that she did, we lived in the middle of nowhere, and so that was advantageous because she recognized the part where I needed to socialize as well. So she would go above and beyond, like if I wanted to go hang out with friends, she'd take me into town. It was like a 25-minute drive. But she knew who I was hanging out with. And then when I got older and I started to drive, she would let me take the car anywhere I wanted, as long as I checked in. And this is before cell phones, so I would always call her when I got there, and like keep her updated. There was many times so like if I'm at a party and I have the keys, I'm not going to be drinking. And there was many times where I'd call her and I'd end up driving people home, and she never said no. And then that's where now in my 20s, when things were pretty bad, that's when I did drink quite a bit, and it was the coping mechanism, and I get it. I so get it. And then that's when I said about my son being the universal smack upside the head, and because of my ex being my ex, he was looking for any little thing to try to take my son away from me, and like child protection was on his side. Like they fucking tried to take this kid from me. And so I didn't drink, and I didn't I would partake in cannabis every once in a while to try to calm my nerves. But they wanted me on medication. Like they were going for the cray. And like my ex was a one-note pony, and they tried, and it's like, no. even like I was on medication, and I'm just going to say there is a time and a place. So, you know, like if you're taking medication, like don't just stop at cold turkey, consult with your medical professional. This is my experience. The medication that they had me on kept me numb, and that's why I stayed in my relationship with my ex as long as I did. And when
Yeah.
I found out I was pregnant, I told them, I said, I don't want to be on this medication. I don't want to, you know, like they're trying to tell me, oh, it's safe, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't want to be on this medication, because I've also heard that when you're expecting, your hormones change and they fluctuate. And like, what if that's all I needed? Like, you know, they're telling me it's a hormone imbalance. That's why I needed to be on the medication. Okay, well, let's take the medication away and let nature do its thing. And after that, I tried once to go on medication, and that's the other thing. They medicated me to keep me numb in an abusive relationship. If I actually had like actual problems, I should still be on medication.
Yeah.
No, it was to keep me numb. And so that's, and I guess where I'm going, like my son kept me on the straight and narrow. He was my reason to March 4th. And I also felt, you know, like he didn't ask to be here. Maybe he did. You know, I don't know what contracts he made, but from mom's perspective, he didn't ask to be here. So I had a responsibility to him. I had an obligation. I knew there was things that I was missing. I wasn't taught, you know, like the gaps. And like the older I got, I was like, holy shit, these gaps. And so that's one of the reasons. I mean, I really like, I really started the deep dive because of Dawn,
Yeah.
looking for alternative healing methods for him, because, you know, like with his knee and stuff, he suffers a lot, and, you know, like he's trying to get away from the medical system, do things a little more naturally. But in the process, like that's when, you know, like I had my awakening and started like figuring out all of this stuff, and like the things that we all aren't taught, I'm learning about natural law right now. And if I had have known about that back then, like when I was my son's age, like, and again, this goes for all of us, how different would life be? So he's one of my huge reasons why I'm learning this stuff, because if he doesn't have to go through the shit that we've gone through, like, I know we have to experience stuff, but like, son, learn from I'm not even going to call them mistakes. It was, we were all kept blind. We know, like Dawn and I have had this conversation many times. If we had the information and knew like all of the angles and decisions and not be backed into a corner, we wouldn't have made a lot of the decisions that we did. And I want that for my son. I want him to at least, you know, like if he gets himself in some shit, look at all of the angles, not just the ones that they're pushing on.
I think you make a really good point about information, because to make truly informed decisions, you have to have the information, don't you? And that's why they hide it and they obscure it, because they've kind of got to give us it, but they wrap it. It's like a truth wrapped in a lie, and you've got to dig to the center to actually get to the truth of it. And that's where the discernment comes in, isn't it? And people, I think, I mean, especially I was the same on my awakening journey, because I properly came online about 2019. And that's when I really started to kind of be like, what's going on? And then COVID happened, and I was like, oh shit, you know. But then it's like there was all this, they muddy the water. They tell you all this stuff. Even like the hermetics, they'll give you like certain snippets of the hermetics, or it'll be wrapped in other stuff. And it's like you need to figure it out for yourself what it means, you know? And that's part of the process. And what I do want to say is what you were on about, and it's not telling your children what to do. You're passing on your wisdom, but that's all we can do, because if you can give them the information and the knowledge, at least conceptually, they still have to have the experience to ground that in and know it. You know, even if it's like, oh, my mum said this and my friends have done this and I've observed it and I understand now. So that you don't even actually have to make the mistakes. You can, if you're an observer of life, you can see things happening, you know, in your greater reality. But it will then solidify because you've got physical examples to understand what's happening. And that's what knowledge is, isn't it? It's the lived-in experience of your understanding.
That was actually like one of the catalysts, like when and it actually just came back to me a couple of days ago. When I was going back to school, one of the motivations, of course, was to get a better life for my son. But I also said that I know that, you know, life's gonna throw curveballs at him, and there might be times where he wants to give up. Well, I actually have the example now. Like, dude, I was a single mom battling somebody in court all the time, and I was still able to do it. So this is the stock that you come from. If I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing any more special about me than there is about you. So I kind of, and it's sad, but not. It's the whole dealing with narcissists thing, right? I've found that one of the best ways to deal with them is to take the wind out of their sails. And so with my son, you know, if he says I can't, it's like, well, you can because I could. And you know,
I like to say nothing's impossible. It's just sometimes we have to change the way how we get there.
yes.
That's all we're doing. It's like, oh, this particular road, there's a roadblock here. Right. We're really inventive. We're human beings. We've got this great intellect, great capacity for invention. How do you get around it? What's the answer? You know, so instead of looking just at the problem, just looking at the solutions to it. And you might another brick wall and another brick wall, and you might fail 100 times, but you've not really. I'm quoting somebody here, and I don't know who it is, but like it isn't the 100 times that you failed; it's 100 times that you've learned not how to do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's what it's about.
Right.
What I do want to know, actually, guys, is I know you shared your wedding video and stuff. You've had a bit of an unconventional relationship, haven't you? Really? It's great though. Who wants? You what? Sorry. You've had a metaphysical relationship. Is that what you said? What did you say, Kirsten? What did you say?
That covers a whole lot of ground when you say unconventional. Narrow that back down.
Yeah. I am going somewhere with it. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you feel you've helped each other on your awakening journey, and what do you think is really special about your relationship? Like, to you two, what do you think is kind of, because it's difficult to have these awakened relationships, isn't it? Really, how do you think you've helped each other?
I think it like right from the get-go, we've been honest with each other. Like, our first date, if you will, involved ice cream. So Don was working at a dairy at the time, and he lived across the street. And so he got my son some ice cream, and he said, "If you're comfortable, I live right over there." And so, like, it was visible, like the parking lot. So it's not as if I was like going off into the woods with some strange guy. Like, and I felt totally comfortable. And that day, we both, as Dawn says, we dumped our purses. We told each other everything. And I remember sitting there, and it's like, okay, I want to pull everything out because I don't want to waste his time, and I don't want to waste my time. So I don't want to be getting into a relationship. Like, you know how at the beginning, everything's all shiny and new and fun, and you can't get enough of each other. And then suddenly there's the oh moment. I wanted to ensure, like, do my best to make sure that he did not have that oh moment. And so it's like, here's everything. And he did the same. But the other thing that happened was really magical. And he, like, and then we can get into this some other time or whatever, but like, he feels like that he has a walk-in right now. But the walk-in is actually the original. And that day on the porch, we call him that guy. I got to meet that guy because his demeanor changed. Like, he was always friendly and funny and all that, but then that guy stepped in. And I remember because he was standing up and he was so animated about the stories, like, and like the experiences that he was sharing with me. And I just kind of like, well, this is cool. And then he kind of changed, like, not in a negative way, but he wasn't as animated as he was. And I just got this feeling, you know, like, and now what I know, that guy saw me, knew it was safe to poke his head out, and he just let her rip and was testing the waters, because that was like, you know, there was a couple of things that if I wasn't where I was, you probably would have sent me running.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then that guy would pop out every once in a while. And if you want to take it.
Well, yeah, I had a complete psychological breakdown at one point. It involved alcohol. I destroyed our own kitchen. And I woke up in a jail cell. And I was the version of self that I am now. And I actually had a conscious conversation inside of my head with the version of me that was leaving. Like, look, you don't fit this reality anymore. You've served your purpose. And that version, the numbed version of myself, the destructive blank version that I was for so long, did serve a purpose. It protected my ego. It protected me from being hurt over and over and over again. It protected my inner child. Exactly. Like, I had a persona where I had shut off myself. I was completely cognitive, functional, and all of these things, but I was not the truest version of myself that I was. The last time I remember being him, I was like 5 years old, and everybody started making fun of me for being really smart and wearing a suit to school. So I started burying him because his feelings got hurt, and he got down deeper and deeper and deeper, and he just kind of stayed there. Well, if that's the walk-in, that day that she's talking about, that walk-in had a pop-in and went, hey, you're safe. I like you. Okay, hi, I'm in here, but there's a whole bunch of shit that needs scraped off of this guy first. Okay, can you help him with that? And then I'll be back. And then once my sobriety fully kicked in, like, I put myself in rehab, like I said, stopped smoking, stopped taking pharmaceuticals, and the more and more clear and cognitive I got, the more and more back into the version of self I became. And that's kind of why I'm so connected now, is because I believe this is the soul fragment of myself. I've cleared the channels to clutter the crap away from what I had piled on top of myself to protect myself from the reality around me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to let Kirsten ask a question in a minute, but I just wanted to say that, touch on something about the safety and relationships. That is the best thing you could possibly do, in my opinion, is just put your shit on the table. Because what happens is, you, like you said, you meet somebody and you put this persona on, and we've all done it, haven't we? And it's like, this is who I am. And you, not only are we meeting somebody and we're seeing them through rose-tinted glasses, aren't we? Because projections are not just negative, they're also positive. You can project all the stuff that you want that's inside you onto another person and go, oh, you know, they're great. And then what you're essentially doing is putting them on a pedestal, and you're always going to fall off. And then what actually happens is, I mean, Laura Matzi talks about this, that's when the real relationship begins. You think, oh, I've fallen out of love with this person. No, you've fallen out of illusion with them, because you can actually see who they really are. And that's when the real relationship work actually begins. But you've both got to be in it. But if you've gone into it initially with like, this is who I am, no bullshit, you know, no bullshit at all. I really like you, I really like your personality, I think we could build something together, but we've got all the shit we need to wade through. And it cards on the table, isn't it, really? But like you said, you've both got to be in the same state to want to be able to do that. And that's the thing about conscious spiritual relationships. They're not fucking easy. You know, people talk about having, you know, partners or wives or husbands or whatever, and they're a bit asleep. And I think it's easier, you know, because they're going through the motions. They're not holding you accountable in the same way. If you've got somebody that's going to say, hey, dude, you probably shouldn't have done that. Why have you done it? Lovingly. Or, you know, what we're doing. Why are you doing that? Or, you know, picking up on the unconscious behaviours. Like, oh, you've done that again. Was there a reason for that? Or you've just spoken to me in a certain way. Whatever, you know. Saying that really, it's having those really hard and difficult conversations. It can be really, really fucking painful. But you have to be able to do it in a space that's full of love, you know? And I think if you can nail that down, it's like the world's your oyster. There's no stopping you, is there really? Go on, Kirsten, what did you want to say?
Oh, no, that's true. I don't really have much to add to that. I do think safety is so huge. And, you know, looking back at my own relationships, I've never felt safe in any of my relationships with men. And I'm not blaming the men, because it was me too. You know, it was who I was. And I was not healed enough to be with someone who was healed enough to give me safety. You know, so I'm not blaming the men at all, because I mean, we all have our wounds, and what happens is we meet the mirror that we need to meet to show us what we need to heal. But when you can get to a point that you are safe with someone and safe enough to be in relationship and be fully honest, that's when the gold really happens. That's when the magic really happens. And there's no pedestal there, you know, because the pedestal is, as Sam said, it's the false thing. And I just want to applaud you guys, because it's so awesome and it's so rare and it's so difficult to build a relationship like that. So yeah, good job.
One of the things to get to the meat and potatoes of Sam's question is what we do to help each other through this is we've developed a system, and it's not perfect yet, and sometimes feelings get hurt, and then we have to talk about it more and more, and there's tears and whatever. But we've developed a system of picking apart each other's traumas, and not in an attacking way. We actually refer to it as a why. You know, why does that bother you? No, go back again. Why does that bother you? Why does that bother you? Go right back to the very first molecule. What is irritating you, making you sad, making you frustrated, making you feel that way? And you can use it for almost anything in this reality. Just sit there and nitpick it until you. And if you get into a loop, if you keep getting the same answer, it's just this, you've gone too far and you're in a loop, right? But you can find the base cause of almost any trauma in this reality. Like, we found something out about grocery stores that had nothing to do with a grocery store with her, right? It was just something that went back to something else, to something else, to something else. And it started way over here and it had nothing to do with that, but that's why she doesn't like going grocery shopping, right? And it's like, you can pick apart your psyche and do it yourself, but it works a hell of a lot better with a partner that you're completely honest with, that understands the process that you're trying to do. Like, sometimes you need that sounding board. Sometimes you need the person to go, do I sound nuts here, or is this right? Did my family actually screw me up this bad? Did my parents do this to me? Like, you need that person, because you can't always just, you need the audible conversation sometimes. And that's why it works so well, because we're that person for one another. It's just like, okay, do you want me to help you with this, or do you want me to just shut up and listen? Because I'll sit there and go like, okay, why? And I am articulate, and I can sit there and pick apart everything she says in a sentence and go, okay, but look at this. what you just said here was about this person that was unrelated to this scenario way back here. And she'll be like, shit. And she does it with me too. Right? It's like, yeah, but you're talking about this and it has nothing to do with that. So why is this affecting that because of this? And when you can start pulling apart your traumas or the weaving in threads, you can pull apart your own reality, the construct that's been laid on top of you, and see what's actually bullshit and doesn't really have any emotional bearing on your reality.
Yeah, and that
is
and you put
true.
sorry.
Perfectly. I'm sorry, Sam. No, that's so true. And I want to go back to what you said about it's easier to do in a relationship, because I personally, and I know Sam's had a similar thing, have been really hyper independent for a long period of time. And what I discovered when I met Sam, because Sam is really the first person I've ever met who could hold a safe space for me to be fully and completely honest. And so, for years, I did all of this inner work and it was great. But as you pointed out, Dawn, sometimes you really need someone else to give you validation and to help you unpick it. And so for me, getting back, because I've been really isolated. I mean, I live by myself. Well, I don't live. You can't live by yourself with 2 dogs and a bunch of cats. But basically, and so when I met Sam, that's what we've started doing for each other, and we have both. And I'm sorry, Sam, I don't want to speak for you, but just from my perspective, we have both made such strides in our awakening, in our coming online, and in our healing, because we have been able to provide that for one another. And human beings really were made to connect and to love one another. And that has been one of the things that has been, poisoned and destroyed by, whatever you want to call them, the parasite class. And I really feel like one of the things we really need to do is get back to that relationship and get back to being able to be that safe space for other people, and to really, help each other, because everything that we've been taught about everything, including relationship, is just utter and complete bullshit.
Yeah. And
so
just
really, Sam, go ahead. I was just going to say, I really have to commend you two for being able to do that. It's amazing.
It really is. And just wanting to just say, just building on what you were saying, Kirsten, it's providing a container, and you can only do that if you can love somebody unconditionally. And it's I mean, it is reciprocal with Kirsten and I, and she's one of the first people that I've ever met, and that can sit with me in my entirety, because one of my big readings was, oh, you're too much, you're not enough. I've got this really, I mean, we both haven't we, this really, really big, deep father wounding, and everybody's probably had it. And I shared it when we were in the group chat a while ago, how it can manifest, and it really hit me between the eyeballs, because I've been doing quite a lot of work, and I was like, yeah, it was like tick, 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 and it's this real sense of safety in the world, and it's almost like we feel like we're not enough, like I said, or too much. And it's like performative love, like people could only love you if you're doing a certain thing or you're being a certain way. And obviously Kirsten and I are not a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but she's my friend, she's my confidant, she's the person who speaks every day. She is my safe space, and I'd like to think that I'm hers, and you two look very, very much the same. And it's providing that non-judgmental, unconditional loving container. Doesn't matter if you swear, doesn't matter if you're a cunt, pardon my French, doesn't matter, whatever you're doing, she didn't take it personally. And I also don't treat her like shit, not intentionally. I mean, we've had a few moments, haven't we, Kirsten, we've done certain things, and unconsciously, because that's just the nature of reality, the nature of like the human condition, and working through our experiences. But if you can hold somebody and lovingly bring them back and say, well, why are you doing this? Or you've done this. And it's not that you're picking on them or you're nitpicking or whatever, but you've got their genuinely, like, their highest interests at heart. You trust them. You trust them implicitly. And why wouldn't you? And that's a safe space to unfold, isn't it, and be vulnerable. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I love what you're both saying here, and it's not something I ever put thought into until just now, but her and I actually coined the term before our wedding day, and we used it in our vows, interdimensional exit buddy. And I don't think that label, that phrase, that title needs to necessarily apply to a romantic relationship. So you two absolutely could be each other's interdimensional exit buddies. You need that trusted being of the same understanding that you can get into a flow state conversation and deep share and understanding with to fully navigate this reality. And I think it's beautiful that you guys have figured out, even across the span of like continents, how to make this work where you guys can be each other's, and I'll use our phrase again, interdimensional exit buddy. You guys are making that hookup. You've made that connection. You know, it doesn't need to be a polar opposite. It just needs to be somebody with a differing point of view that can help you understand things from a different perspective. And I love that you guys are doing that for one another.
Oh, thank you, Don. And I love that you guys are great. It's helping, pointing out lovingly your blind spots, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've all got them. I think
we're both so committed. Like, for me, like I want to find my blind spots, because the last thing I want to do is unknowingly treat him like crap.
Yeah.
Like, there's been times like I said, like when he had to say, like, how could you let him treat you like that? Like, what? There's so many things where I see it now, where I've inadvertently hurt people and had no idea what I was doing, because that's what I was exposed to. And it's not an excuse. It's like, he's my opportunity to peel back all the layers and look at my toxicity and look at where I have hurt people, because I'm so committed. The last thing I want to do is hurt him. So I'm on a mission. I've got my own microscope looking at myself, because I don't want to bring my crap onto him. And he has the same kind of commitment. And so when you go into it looking at yourself, it gets a lot easier to accept, and it even gets to the point of welcoming the feedback. And he presents it like he does it so lovingly and compassionately. Like, I also don't want him walking on eggshells around me either, because that's how I had to live. And that's the last thing I want. And I don't envy him, because the friggin' balance that he exercises in order to, like, lovingly say, you've been kind of a bitch, without using those words.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong, because when he calls me out, anytime he calls me out, it's absolutely valid. And I commend him, because it's fucking brave to do that. Like, he's taking a risk, but at the same time, he knows that I'm committed to wanting to fix this, and somebody's got to do it, because I can't see it by myself.
It's that vulnerability, isn't it? If you can be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
You've got to be vulnerable to say, hey, I've noticed that you're doing this. Because it's scary, isn't it? And you've got to be vulnerable and say, okay, I see where you're coming from, and I need to not take it personally and look at my own crap, basically. So I think you've got like a really good balance there. I mean, talking about like relationships and awakenings and things, where do you see yourself taking this? I mean, other than interdimensional exit buddies, I love that, by the way. What are the next steps for you guys? I mean, John, you're doing the podcast, which is amazing, by the way. Spinja, you're doing the markets. I know you've spoken about maybe homesteading and all that kind of stuff. Just tell us a bit about that.
I do plan on continuing the show for several more seasons. That's a definite, because like I said, I think with both of you on the show, is like a lot of this figuring all of this spiritual stuff out is comparing notes within one another, and this is the best way I can do it. And as my channel develops and we do eventually go where we call as home, we have our eye on a particular plot of land. I actually plan on going back to what my original trade was a carpenter, and I'm going to be doing a lot of the renovations and upgrades to the homestead online, as well as my interviews, and then eventually hopefully have like some of the animals where we can live stream. We've talked about doing personal paid interactions with some of the animals, like, hey, do you want to rent a cow for 20 minutes? It's this much, right? I'll go with like a body cam or something on and interact with a farm animal, because a lot of people never get, almost like Kirsten's video. It was really cool to see an alpaca up that close, right? Most people don't get that experience.
Yeah.
So we could wire up the farm as well. And that's a stream of revenue that we're hoping to eventually open up to become a little more self-sufficient. With the idea of getting to, once we get to the farm, she is going to be going back to her wheelhouse, which is the fiber arts. And
Yeah. So what my intention is, I'm going to be floating all over the place. I'm really excited about the idea, because I like where I'm at right now. Like, yes, I'm doing the market. I'm also working full time. I'm an industrial sewing machine operator, and ironically, it's at my sewing machine that I first heard Stephen from BG Cast. And, you know, like, he's why we're here. But once I move on from that, like the market's just the beginning, and then the consignment shop that like fell into my lap. I do want to become self-sustained. Like, I want to run my own business. But at the same time, I also have plans. Dawn's going to, it's on a side note, but is it? There was this property that we had our eye on, and they took the listing down, and we were broke, and it was relisted 8 days ago for $100,000 less than what it was. And there's just been some movement in our situation that could potentially, so the whole plan, like, how I see my typical day, I think this is probably the easiest way. Like, the typical day, I'm going to start it off in the kitchen, and I'm going to be doing my sourdough thing, and I'm going to be like doing the meal prep for the day. And then I plan on moving out to doing whatever, like, with the animals, like feeding, whatever I need to do. And then the next phase will be like my fiber thing. Like, if it's spinning day, if it's weaving day, if it's sewing day, I don't know how that's going to look. But I want to get into instructing as well. Like, I want to teach spinning. Absolutely want to teach spinning. I want to teach knitting, crocheting, and then, you know, like, what I learn about the whole, like, homesteading thing. Like, I had started. We got a little ambitious and put the cart before the horse. I actually did start my own podcast, Surviving the Spinja, and I did have to put a pin in it, but it's just a pin. It's just temporary. I fully plan on firing that back up, and, you know, like, just to inspire people and like fill in the gaps, like. And, you know, like, with this homestead, like, we also want to build a space for people to come and, you know, like, just visit and get into nature. Like, if they want to have, you know, like, the whole, like, animal interaction experience, you know, like, we want to be able to do that too. I would eventually love to have, like, fiber camp, you know, like, people come for a week and, you know, like, bring your spinning wheels, learn to spin. I would love to do
Come to fiber camp.
generation. Yeah.
I want to come.
You want to come to fiber camp? We'll line it up with construction camp, and then you guys can just and build.
We want to come to ontological fiber camp where we can talk about philosophy of spinning. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, like this is all like this is what we want to do, and like, and that's the other thing. Like in regards to Dawn's show and then my upcoming show, it's just sharing experiences. Like I know there's people out there that want to do this for a living, and kudos to them. Like get after it. You got this. That's not like, you know, like if monetization comes and all that stuff, wonderful. We welcome it, but that's not why we're doing it. We're not doing it for likes. We're not doing it for attention. It's like if you find us, we hope you find us organically. And we're here to share and like just share experiences, you know, like learn as we're learning. That's our intention. It actually, like we've said it before, it actually costs us money for Don to do his show. And there, you know, like there's people that approach us like thinking that we have money, and it's like it's hilarious. Hi, we rent a single wide, like we live in a trailer.
I mean, it's crazy though, isn't it? Like people's perceptions of people with podcasts. Kirsten and I, it's like I'm sat at my kitchen table using my phone. I ain't even got a laptop. You know what I mean? I had to give my laptop up to work when I quit my job. I was working. I was a nurse. Yeah, but I love what you said about it's not about likes. It's not about, you know, money. Kirsten and I did it. We were talking about it. You talked about the thing with John last night. We started doing spaces because we got chatting, and we were both like, "Oh, we've got so much to say." And then spaces kind of we were hijacked, weren't we? Really, but kind of on purpose, I think, to get us in the
spaces.
Yeah, Kirsten's been put on the blacklist. And I was like, I'm not going on camera. I'm too fat to do a podcast. I've got a moustache. My cat's too big. My eyebrows don't match. And then in there, I was just like, oh, fuck it. I don't care. Come on. Let's do it. Because we wanted to we had a message. We don't even really know what the message is either, do we, till we come on? But I think the big thing was it was connection. And the thing that kind of connected the ducks was obviously Kirsten not being able to get on the spaces. And then Diana doing the Conscious Creator panel. It was like, well, let's dip his toe and see if we like it. And then it just, that was it then. We were kind of the wheels in motion. And that like circling back to the reason we did. I think it's about the connections, you know. And like you said, comparing the notes, meeting the people, networking. And it's like, I know Diana talks about this. No, it's like this kind of like neural network, isn't it? This etheric neural network that we're all making with these connections, and we're all sharing information, and we're all kind of grounding it in, and we're passing it on, and we're bringing more people into the sphere. And I think it's like this, like you said, this organic, expansive movement. And this is kind of where we're moving now. I think we're becoming the hubs for the newly awakened people. And that's what we're doing, really. And we're also information gathering, and we're trying to figure it out as we go, aren't we? Really? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I exactly what you said. Like there are people, and that's why we're doing it, because Dawn's show originated because he has questions, and it's like, okay, well, if he's going to ask these questions, why not make it available to everybody that likely has the same sort of questions? And, you know, like that's another reason, like with Dawn's show, like one of the reasons he does the lives and why I'm in the chat is because he'll be doing topics and people will actually have questions of their own. So I'm there, you know, like I'm chatting away, and yes, sometimes I get off topic and all that stuff, but I also find that it does draw people in if you're in there and you're talking to them. And if they know that they're heard and their questions are going to be asked, I really think that's, you know, like it's important when you are at the beginning of your awakening, of your journey, well, it doesn't matter what phase you're in, because I've said, like, I think I've had one of the longest awakenings ever. Like, you want to talk about the slow drift, you know, it's like, oh, I'm ready. No, and I know I'm not alone. And and this is the message I think we all want to get across, is that you are not alone.
Yeah.
Come with us. If you have questions, ask your question, and we will make sure that if we don't have the answer, if our guest doesn't have the answer, then we know somebody who knows something.
Or we can find somebody because we're in the network.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Just-
not really about, the questions. My biggest driving force was I wanted to hear people's stories. I'm like the inadvertent reporter. I'm fascinated by other people and like, what drives you? What happened to you? Why are you like you are? It's like, do you know? Not even like in a Jungian kind of like, let's figure you out like in an archetypal way. It's just like I just love people's stories. I love humans. I love figuring out what made people tick, because it puts everything into perspective. What about you, Kirsten and Don? I'll start with Don. What's your main driving force other than the like kind of questions? Is there anything else behind it that pushes you forward?
A lot of it was sympathy for my wife, because my awakening was driving her freaking mental. Right? My awakening was so aggressive, and I was understanding so much at once. I thought I was going to put her in a rubber room, because like I was explaining reality to her, and she's like, I don't fucking know. Right? Like, go talk to somebody else. Like, I don't know. You've reached what I know. Stop it. Like, here's Steven, here's the alchemist, here's Kirsten, here's Samantha. Like, go talk to these people, because you're hurting my goddamn head. Right? And that's one of the big secrets of the show, is like a lot of this is for her sanity, so I will leave her the hell alone.
You're like the kids at the cinema, aren't they? What's happening? What's going on? What are they doing that for? Man, no, I'm kidding. Kirsten, what about you? Come on now. Why do you want to do it? Put you on the spot now.
I want to do it basically because you're talking. No, I want to be famous. No, I'm kidding. Obviously. No, I have this, I want to help people, because I know when I was awakening, and I had a really long process too, Spinja. I was like, really long. And I would look around and I'd be like, I'm having all these whacked out experiences. I'm having all these realizations. Nothing is real. Everything is fake. And I'm trying to make eye contact with people and ask them, are you experiencing this? And they're like, are you nuts? Do you have a problem? It's like, and so that's one thing, because I really want to get out there and let people know you're not alone and you're not crazy. And comparing notes is another, because we all have so many different stories. And like Sam said, every story, even though we have a lot of commonalities, every story is different. And it's really beautiful to be able to share those stories. And the other thing is, I just want to help people heal. I want to get a frequency out. I want to get a frequency of, we love you and it's safe to be who you are out in the world. And so those are the reasons that I did it, and also to make lots and lots of money, because obviously that's what we're doing.
Because obviously we're compensated very richly for this. We don't have to worry about buying a new car when it breaks down, or if our tires are going to get flat or anything like that.
Do you want to see the Maserati?
Yeah. You've got 3 on you.
Oh.
Dude, I have a 2001 Ford Ranger pickup.
Which, to be fair, it's technically a classic car.
The only reason we have a 2021 truck in the driveway is because I got smoked on the way home from work. We had a 2017. that we were perfectly content with. Like, we were planning on keeping it, driving it into the ground. Like, it was our baby, and we respect Frank Jr., but Frank was the man. He was the sports car in the functional pickup truck.
Ooh.
That's nice.
Yeah, and we had no intention on getting. That's actually the story, basically, of my vehicle owning life. Like, my first vehicle, I had to trade in because I didn't have the money to repair it. So it just made sense to trade it in. And that seems to be like the only reason I've traded vehicles in is because I didn't have the money to repair it. So hopefully, things are going to, like, like, we've got Junior now, that if he needs any repairs or whatever, we can hang on to him. And that's actually, like, when the financial balance finally happens, one of the first orders of business, we're probably going to be giving Junior to William. I want my 1980 something square body pickup truck. I don't want this new crap. I want the stuff where Don can stick his head under the hood and actually fix it. I don't need this new crap. Like, I don't need the power everything. I don't need the screens. The backup camera is nice, but I certainly wouldn't have paid for it if it wasn't included.
And I think, I haven't got sensing cameras or anything, and I can reverse park, and I can't drive for shit. So, my first car when I passed my driving test, because I didn't have very much money, it was a Ford Fiesta Fun. Obviously, it was a Ford Fiesta Fun.
We have a Festiva in our driveway, like an 89. It's a standard. We're waiting to fix it up for our son. Like, that's, again, waiting for the balance. But yeah, he's going to learn how to drive standard.
That's amazing. Obviously, in England, we all drive standard. Pretty much, yeah. Unlike, obviously, we're going to electric now. Yeah, we all drive. We call it a stick, don't you?
Yes,
stick. Yeah. So that was my first car, and it had roll-down windows, and it had no power steering, and I got muscles from driving it. And I remember I passed my driving test, and I could eat a cheeseburger, drive, and smoke while trying to, like, wind the window down at the same time. I was like this. Honestly, my coordination was fucking bang on, yeah.
Well,
but I can't.
I've got the delicate balance of being able to eat chicken fingers and fries and gravy, so I get it.
That's it. Your spinning has trained you well, Spinja. You're a finely oiled chicken munching machine.
Whereas I can drive and leave Sam a long voice message.
We have a joke, because Kirsten always leaves me messages when she's driving, and I always leave Kirsten messages when I'm in the bath. Don't ask me why.
Yeah. Oh, I can answer that, Sam. If you're like me, I get a lot of downloads and just things open up in the shower, in the tub. Yeah. So, like, I actually, when I was going to school, I kept a notebook on the back of my toilet because I would get, like, some of, like, my greatest project inspirations while I was in the shower. So it's
the water. It's the water. It absolutely is. It's the interdimensional medium, isn't it? It's the lubrication between thought and knowing, I think. Something like that. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to ask Kirsten? Because we're getting to 2 hours and we've chewed your bloody ears off, haven't we? What's that?
The only thing I ask is, do you have anything that you want to leave it with?
Sorry, what are you laughing at? Tell me.
I literally said it'll be 2 hours.
Oh, did you?
I was like, I hope they have 2 hours because it'll take at least that long.
I mean, to be fair, guys, I could talk to you for absolutely freaking hours. This has been amazing. It's like we've known you for years. You've got such a great energy. Yeah, go on, Kirsten. Yeah. I'm talking over you. I'm being rude.
Damn it. No, it's fine.
Doing it again.
No, I just want to ask you if there's anything you want to leave us with, you guys.
I would probably put my closing thoughts on something that I looked a lot into, and I believe that a lot of the ascension is going to be involving emotional frequency. And I believe that we as aware beings need to achieve and maintain the highest emotional frequency possible in order to elevate the understanding of the societal construct to bring us into the awareness that we need to be at. So I'm not saying walk around like a smiling idiot all the time with a stupid grin on your face, but if you can do something from a place of authenticity and love for other people, that shit is contagious because you change their reality every time you have a positive interaction with somebody. It branches off like a tree. That person that you just gave $1 to on the street that didn't really have anything might open a door for somebody that'll get somewhere quicker, that'll be able to make a meal for their kid, that kid will be a little bit better. Everything you do from a positive place of intention is going to alter somebody's reality and thus make the world a better place. And that is the emotional frequency I would love to see everybody be able to.
That's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I love it. That's the
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Because that's just to quickly add to that. We're counteracting. That is the medicine, isn't it? That is the literal antidote to this like fucking shit show of a circus that we're living in. You know, every bit of black negativity or fear that they pump out. You go to somebody who's stuck in that loop in their head and you smile at them and you say, "Hey, go have a great day," or whatever, or "Here's a fucking biscuit," whatever you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want me to flash you my tit? No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that really, but I'm obviously energy high. That's why I'm being silly. But do you know what I mean? It's just anything, isn't it? It shifts it. It shifts it out, and it's the medicine. Anyway, go on, Kirsten. What were you saying? You can ask Spinja now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and the other thing is, it's really reciprocal. Once you start doing that, you'll find that people do that for you. Because, you know, I go out and I go to a very small town to teach, and but, you know, I treat everyone just, you know, I always try to smile at people. And if I see someone who needs encouragement, I try to encourage them. And I have found as I do that more and more and make it my practice, when I'm not in a good space, somebody opens the door for me. Somebody smiles at me. And I think the more we can do that, because, you know, we're creating our reality and it's reflecting back to us what we're putting out.
Yeah.
So I think that's just all around. It's best for every single person. So yeah, so Spinja, what would you like to leave us with? Do you have any thoughts you'd like to say?
Well, I'm like, I want to build on what you were just saying. Just be yourself. Be yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And like exactly what you just said. Like my Thursday, like at the farmers market, like I started off like, you know, like we talked about spinning and you know, the consignment shop lady. But even after that, like know your power, like and authenticity. So after the farmers market, I was hungry, and it's sad because like they've got food trucks there, but I'm at my booth and I can't get around. So I'm like, okay, I need to do something for supper because I do the farmers market and then I go to my job afterwards. And yes, there's a little bit of crazy. That's a whole other, like how I'm drawing energy. That's a whole other conversation. I don't know how that. Well, I know how I'm doing it, but so I needed to get something to eat. And it's like, okay, I can eat within the little town that I'm in, or I can go to the town that I work in, which is much larger, and basically have anything to eat that I want. Yeah, like I could take the easy way and go to a fast food place and all that. And like, no, that doesn't appeal to me. Like I've had that option and it's great, but I would rather go someplace local. And so I was looking up the restaurants, and I saw this one place and it had some really good reviews. And the other thing that I kind of noticed is the people that own this restaurant, they have a lot of experience and they've worked in a lot of upscale restaurants and stuff. What they're operating right now is a diner. And I'm like really curious because, you know, like this little local restaurant, these people are obviously working like below the level that they could be working at. They're coming at it from here. And so I went in, and the lady behind the counter, first of all, was like super nice. You know, like I told her I just finished at the farmer's market. She was telling me the restaurant was actually an old garage, and she was saying like, check it out, like check out the history, like super, like, and it was awesome. And then we got talking, and I was telling her like the chicken fingers did not disappoint. Like they were like the best chicken fingers that I ever had. And so I was getting ready, and it was almost 8:00, and they were closing. So I didn't want to be that person. So I was like kind of trying to rush. Nobody was rushing me, but I didn't want to. And so I noticed that there was the two cooks and an eccentric looking gentleman sitting and having a conversation. And I just kind of pieced it together. That was the owners. So I wanted to say something on the way out, and I'm like, and I said like those were the best chicken fingers I have ever had, and like they just beamed, and it turned into a whole conversation. And it turned out that the eccentric gentleman was actually the owner of the building, who has a garage in the back and restores cars. Told me that if I wanted like to come in like during an off time, he would give me a tour of and all of this stemmed from just being myself and wanting to support local, wanting to support people that I noticed to have the same kind of passion that I do, because they could be working up in Lake Louise or in Banff, like making six figures. And they're in this tiny little town running a diner. And it's sort of similar to me, because what I do, I don't get monetarily compensated nearly what I should for what I do, like the amount of time that I put in. And I'm not complaining, because it comes from here. There's more to life than money. And if you're doing, and another takeaway is follow your passion. Listen to your heart. You follow your passion, you're going to draw in other people and have similar amazing experiences. So be yourself, follow your passion, march to your own fucking drum, and just know you're not alone, and we're all here too.
Beautifully put.
Yay!
Guys,
that's perfect.
You are just absolutely two fucking stellar human beings, I've got to say. I love you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on our day.
Today. Yes, thank you so much. And we're grateful for everyone who's watching out there. And yeah, I think that's beautiful. So Sam, say it.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the flip side.